seems to be rare. Bishop has isolated a mold bacterium that could cause a high fever, but its propagation rate is far too low to enable it to last long in the bloodstream. The most dangerous animal seems to be a 2 foot tall arthropod. They're rare and peaceable. Bishop vivisected one yesterday and found nothing alarming. Last night I dreamed about the first expedition. I dreamed they all committed suicide because Epsilon was too good for them. This is ridiculous. We're working in a sort of quiet madness, getting no closer to the solution. Armitage talked to Senator Farragut yesterday, and hinted darkly that the first ship's hydroponic system went haywire and that an improper carbohydrate imbalance killed the colony. Pretty thin. Farragut's getting impatient. Bishop looks haggard. Max looks grim. February 23rd. Our quantitative tests are slowing down. We play a rubber of bridge each night before retiring. Last night I trumped Max's ace and he snarled at me. We had a fight. This morning I found a bouquet of purple spore thistles at my cabin door. Max is sweet. This afternoon, by mutual consent, we all knocked off work and played bridge. Bishop noticed the thistle bouquet in a vase over the chronometer. He objected. "They're harmless," Max said. "Besides, they smell nice." I can hardly wait for tomorrow's rubber. Our work is important, but one does need relaxation. February 25. Armitage is cheating. Yesterday he failed to score one of my over tricks. We argued bitterly about it. Taylor, of course, sided with him. 3 hands later, Armitage got the bid in hearts. 150 honors, he announced. "That's a lie," I said. "It was only 100, he grinned. "But thank you, Greta. Now I shan't try the queen finesse." No wonder they've won the last 3 evenings. Max is furious with them both. February 28. We played all day. Max and I kept losing. I always knew Armitage was a pompous toad, but I never realized he was slimy. This afternoon it was game all, and Armitage overcalled my diamond opener with 3 spades. Bishop took him to 4, and I doubted, counting on my ace-king of hearts and diamonds. I led out my diamond ace, and Armitage trumped from his hand. Bishop laid down his dummy. He had clubs and spades solid, with doubleton heart and diamonds. "None?" Max asked Armitage dangerously. Armitage tittered. I wanted to scratch his eyes out. He drew trump immediately and set up clubs on board, dumping the heart losers from his hand and finally sloughing 2 diamonds. "Made 7," he said complacently. +2 for the diamond renege makes 5. 1 over trick doubled. We were vulnerable, so it's game and rubber." I gasped. "You reneged deliberately?" "Certainly. Doubleton and hearts and diamonds in my hand. If you get in, I'm down 1. As it was, I made an over trick. The only penalty for a renege is 2 tricks. The rule book does not differentiate between deliberate and accidental reneges. Sorry." I stared at his florid throat, at his jugular. I could feel my mouth twitching. On the next hand I was dummy. I excused myself and went into the lab. I found a scalpel. I came up quietly behind Armitage, and Bishop saw what I was going to do, and shouted, and I was not nearly fast enough. Armitage ducked, and Bishop tackled me. "Thanks, dear," Max said thoughtfully, looking at the cards scattered on the floor. "We would have been set 1 trick. Club finesse fails." "She's crazy!" Armitage's mouth worked. "The strain's too much for her." I cried. I apologized hysterically. After a while I convinced them I was all right. Max gave me a sedative. We did not play any more bridge. Over supper I kept staring at Armitage's throat. After eating, I went for a long walk. When I got back to the ship, everyone was sleeping. March 1. Bishop found Armitage this morning in his cabin. He came out, very pale, staring at me. "You bitch," he said. "Ear to ear. Now what'll I do for a partner?" "You can't prove it," I said. "We'll have to confine her to quarters," Max said wearily. "I'll tell Farragut." And let him know the expedition is failing? Max sighed. You're right. We'll tell them Armitage had an accident. I said seriously, it was obviously suicide. His mind snapped. Oh, God, Max said. They buried Armitage this afternoon. From my cabin, I watched them dig the grave. Cheaters never prosper. March 2. Max talked with Senator Farragut this morning. He said Armitage had died a hero's death. Farragut sounds worried. The Pan-Asians have withdrawn their embassy from Imperial Africa. Tension is mounting on the home front. Immigration must start this week. Max was very reassuring. Just a few final tests, Senator. We want to make sure. We puttered in our laboratories all afternoon. Bishop seemed bored. After dinner he suggested three-handed bridge, and Max said he knew a better game, a friendly game his grandmother had taught him. Hearts. March 5. It's a plot. All day long Bishop and Max have managed to give me the queen of spades. It's deliberate, of course. 3 times I've tried for the moon, and Bishop has held out one damned little heart at the end. Once Max was slightly ahead on points, and Bishop demanded to see the score. I thought for a moment they would come to blows, but Bishop apologized. It's just that I hate to lose, he said. Quite, Max said. When we finally turned in, Bishop was ahead on points. Too far ahead. March 6. I suppose it's Bishop's laugh. It has a peculiar horse-like stridency that makes me want to tear out his throat. Twice today I've broken down and cried when he made a jackpot. I'm not going to cry any more. Supper was the usual, beef yeast and Vita ale. I remember setting Bishop's plate in front of him, and the way his pale eyes gleamed between mouthfuls. 3,000 points ahead, he gloated. You'll never catch me now. Never, never. That was when he gripped his throat and began writhing on the floor. Max felt his pulse. He stared at me. Very nice, he said. Quick, did you use a derivative of that green fungus? I said nothing. Max's nostrils were white and pinched. Must I make an autopsy? Why bother? I said. It's obviously heart failure. Yes, why bother? He said. He looked tired. Stay in your cabin, Greta. I'll bring your meals. I don't trust you. His laughter had a touch of madness. March 10. Max unlocked my cabin door this morning. He looked drawn. Listen, he said. I've checked my respiration, pulse, saliva, temperature. All normal. So? Come here, he said. I followed him into the lab. He indicated a microscope. His eyes were bright. Well? A drop of my blood, he said. Look. I squinted into the microscope. I saw purple discs. Oddly, they did not attack the red blood cells. There was no fission, no mitosis. The leukocytes, strangely enough, let them alone. My hands were shaking as I took a sterile slide and pricked my finger. I put the slide under the microscope. I adjusted the lens and stared. Purple discs swimming in my bloodstream, thriving, minding their own business. Me too, I said. They're inert, Max said hoarsely. They don't affect metabolism, cause fever, or interfere with the body chemistry in any way. Do they remind you of anything? I thought about it. Then I went to the slide file that was marked Flora negative. Right, Max said. The purple thistle. Spores. The atmosphere is clogged with them. Greta, my sweet, we are infected. I feel fine, I said. All day long we ran tests. Negative tests. We seem to be disgustingly healthy. Symbiosis, Max said finally. Live and let live. Apparently we're hosts. Only one thing disturbs me. Most symbiotes do something for their host. Something to enhance the host's survival potential. We played chess this evening. I won. Max is furious. He's such a poor sport. March 11. Max talked with Senator Farragut this morning. He gave Epsilon a clean bill of health, and the senator thanked God. The first starship will leave tonight, the senator said, right on schedule with 10,000 colonists aboard. You're world heroes.